This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with George Fotopoulos, Head of E-Mobility Business Unit at Mack Trucks. George, thank you for joining me.
Jason, great to be here today. Thank you for having me, and great for opportunity for speaking with you today. Appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. I really wanted to catch up with you because you made a recent announcement regarding the Mack LR electric refuse truck and are offering what's called Vehicle as a Service, which is, one, just a really cool name, by the way. And two, I think it kind of speaks toward, there have been questions of how electric vehicles and electric trucks, the business model and ownership model maybe for fleets might change or shift or evolve. So can you just lay some groundwork for us here? And what is Vehicle as a Service? Is this a lease? Is it different than a lease? Am I buying the truck? How does this work?
Sure, I'd be glad to. I want to make a point first that this Vehicle as a Service package is exclusive to our Mack LRE battery electric refuse vehicle. And it's a vehicle that has been in serial production since last year, since 2021. And to be clear, this is a lease package, but it's nothing like we've ever done before. And let me explain a little bit what that is and what's included. And I want to make sure I cover 5 items that is included. The first one, it's obviously includes is the vehicle and its batteries, of course, right? That's the meat and potatoes of this business model. So that's included, obviously. The second one is that it also includes the customer refuse body of choice, which, if you don't know, can cost as much as the vehicle itself, right? And these are industry bodies that are manufactured by body upfitters, not by Mack Trucks. And yet we take on this asset in this lease package. The third item I want to include here is that it includes our most comprehensive vehicle protection plan that we call our Mack Ultra Service Agreement. It provides all the preventative and corrective maintenance for the term of the lease. It also includes the uptime services that we have that are called Mack Guard Dog Connect. And we also have here includes our roadside assistance, it includes battery monitoring, it includes battery performance guarantees. It's truly a worry-free coverage for our vehicle. Then off to the fourth item here, it also includes any kind of taxes or customer incentives that are applicable towards the customer. And the fifth one I want to make sure is coverage is it's an important one because it's an option here to bundling your charging hardware and even the customer's charging infrastructure needs. And by infrastructure needs, I mean here the electrical utility upgrades that you may need on your depot in your facility. And it includes all the costs from design, engineering, construction, electrical hardware, and yes, even putting that copper in the ground if needed. So you can see it's a full bundling of everything a customer needs to go EV in their refuse truck fleet.
Yeah, and I mean, that last component's really, really interesting. I do want to back up for a moment and touch on the bodybuilding aspect because I know you have upfitters you work with. So is this any, like, as a customer, is it any upfitter? Is there a selection of upfitters that I can work with the Vehicle as a Service platform? How does that work?
Sure, yeah, we do work with all of the upfitters that are out there. We assess the feasibility here of their product here on our Mack LRE. We have some pre-configured options for customers to go in there and select while they spec their vehicle. And if the body that they're looking for is not pre-configured, we take that on as an engineering request to work with that body manufacturer, and then of course assess the fit and make it available.
Okay, and then the last part of the charging infrastructure and bundling that in with the lease price that you mentioned, that's an option, right? That's just something I can tag on, whereas the other 4 bullet points are kind of related to running the vehicle. This is something that I can kind of take or leave depending on my needs. If I need some help, I can add it in, and if not, did you say it was an option to add that in?
That is a correct understanding. That is an option to it. And sometimes you don't need the utility upgrades, or sometimes you want to buy the charger on your own. You don't need to finance it. So therefore, yes, it is an option at the end.
Okay. Well, and honestly, I mean, from covering the market, it sounds like a really great option because that is one of the most confusing, difficult components of this is trying to
And
figure out. I mean,
expensive,
that's where a
right?
lot
And
of that,
expensive.
right? That's where the heavy lifting comes in. Very cool. What?
That's
Okay, so
exactly.
then once everything's in the ground, my charger up, I got the trucks, I'm running them. Does this include the charging costs? Then, are you managing the charging costs when I'm charging the truck, or is that still separate with my? I handle that with my utility.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
Okay.
variable, right? Like, how much you're operating the vehicle, how many kilowatts you're using, that's in your electric bill. So that's not in the vehicle as a service model. It's a separate line item for operating expenses.
Okay, very cool. Okay, very good. So now that I have a good understanding of this, what does this mean for the vehicle life cycle? How do you see this changing the EV life cycle, and what are my options, a year or 2 or 3 down the road?
Yeah, I want to say that, Jason, first, this is not the vehicle is not spent after a year or two, of course, in service. This thing is built like a Mack truck because it is a Mack truck, right? So it lasts
That's
a lot
right.
longer than that. But this business model can impact the fleet's EV life cycle drastically, actually. And why? It's because they have many options that they did not have before to consider. And they are quite a few options. The first option here is to kind of to renew the vehicle as a service lease at a reduced rate after the initial term. The
Oh,
second
okay.
option is actually to buy the vehicle if you want to spend the capital at this point in time. The third option is here to consider other remarketed vehicles that have different configurations perhaps to put into your fleet. The fourth option is to upgrade to new vehicles to the latest and greatest generation technology. And the last option is to simply walk away after the lease term. So those
Right.
options were not available to the fleets before. Before, they built a very unique refuse vehicle. They used it for 10, 15 years. And then they recycled that vehicle, right? So therefore, it
Right.
was that was the model before. So it's quite different today.
Well, and you draw an interesting point here about the Mac quality. The bones of it, right, are going to last like seemingly an eternity compared to battery technology and how quick it moves, right? So, there's lots of talk about how batteries are going to evolve over the next 2, 3, 5 years. So even though the truck it might still be great, might still be running good, but if I'm getting, a longer time between charging cycles because batteries have evolved to the point where now I'm just getting a little bit more range and the cycle capacity is good. Also, a good option to be like, hey, to your point, let's upgrade to the new generation of truck, and I'm not beholden to the battery technology of today when I might need something a little different tomorrow.
Yeah,
So very
perfect,
cool.
perfect understanding. Yeah.
Um, Speaking of batteries, I do want to go back to because you mentioned the service component. I think this is really important too in EVs because I think there's a lot of unknown. We have a lot of and you've been running a good test case in New York there with the LR electric, and so you have a probably pretty good understanding of some maintenance cases. But we do want to see how EVs perform over time, and so bundling the service that comes with the EV and that support. One, a peace of mind for the fleets, and two, just a good, you have that support. But you mentioned battery monitoring and other components there. Are there any lessons that you've seen in New York, or what kind of guidance are you hoping to offer customers in being able to bundle that service in and support them after the sale? How important is that in this whole application component?
Sure, yeah, it's all about that the data collection, right, and doing preventative maintenance. So the statement is there that the data is the new gold. So we have an abundance, of
Right.
course, of sensors here on the vehicle, and it's collecting very relevant data, which is helping us understand the many on-the-job variables that this vehicle is going through. And towards the customer, a critical fault code can be detected with our Mac Guard Connect connectivity platform here. And it contacts here our uptime center in Greensboro, North Carolina. And these agents then, of course, get with the Mac customers and they coordinate the repairs and services with the local Mac dealer.
Right. Well, and it's good to have that guiding because these are new vehicles, especially on the service side. Is this on the service side? Is that something that they will deal with the dealership? Are you doing any training on? Do you have to do any training on the fleet end or the refuse side end of maybe what you might not want to do or might not want to interact with the truck because this is an EV versus what they're used to on the diesel with the high voltage systems? Do you do any training and go in there and talk to them about the
So
safety stuff?
yeah, the training side of it is for the servicing of the vehicle, preventative, and of course, any kind of a repair kind of services are at our dealerships. These are the technicians that are highly trained to treat this vehicle. When it comes to the training that we provide towards the customer, it's more the safety side of the equation, right? So we do
Yeah.
the safety training with our customers, but not the repair and maintenance or the preventive maintenance of it. We have all this being done by a certified technician at our dealers.
Right. Very cool. I want to go back to one quick point because we brought it up. Just the New York operation. I know that was the pilot test case for the LR Electric. What are and we've covered that as it's rolled out. But what are some of the things you've learned from that operation? What did that refuse operation see, and how did they? What were their impressions of running the LR Electric?
Sure. That was an operation, of course, that was in a city, New York City itself. So it's not a
Right.
suburban application, but a very urban, dense urban area. So this vehicle that was running was with a what we call a rear load application. And that duty cycle was very much fulfilled with the vehicle itself. So we were testing to make sure that duty cycle in that environment with this vehicle and it was capable and that match happened. So DSNY, they're a great customer and a great partner here, helping us develop our Mack LRE, and they've been overwhelmingly positive about the vehicle itself. So much so to the fact that they ordered 7 more trucks here to go into the job in the city of New York by this year.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, and that kind of also one of the things that I've been talking a lot about too, going back to that, again, that really cool option to bundle in all your charging infrastructure is the chances are you're probably not just buying one truck, one electric truck when it comes to it. You gotta come with that scalability in mind and that growth in mind of like, you might try one, you might pilot one, you might get two, but at the end of the day, you are looking at maybe upwards of a dozen. And you're looking at, to your point, life cycles of potentially, talking with some fleets, at least, on the heavy duty regional side, looking at life cycles of 6, 8, even 10 years, which
Sure.
is crazy in the regional side. I know that's kind of a drop in the bucket for the refuse side, but having the flexibility of the vehicle as a service package to just kind of maybe even reassess my needs 2 years after running, the electric trucks and scaling up. Do you see that impacting those decisions? I mean, is that something that the customers are talking about, or even just possibilities of rolling this out into other segments down the line?
Sure. Obviously, this is the reason why we release such a program here. There are incentive stimulations in the market that are helping customers advance their heavy duty truck fleet towards EVs. And our vehicle as a service business model is our customer, let's call it incentive program that is lowering those barriers of adoption by answering to those possible hesitations, right? So obviously, yeah, we're getting those hesitations from the customers, and this is our answer to that, right? Taking the how do I service this vehicle out of the equation, taking a
Right.
how long does my battery last out of the equation? You know what I mean? That
Right.
this package answers to those hesitations that could be out there.
Right, right. Very cool. Well, George, I appreciate you taking the time to clarify this and go over this. I think it's super cool. I'm sure I will be bugging you again very soon for even more EV
Please.
details.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime, Jason. And look for that cleaner, that quieter, that less pungent and copper bulldog Mack trucks in your neighborhood, because I'm excited to see it in mine as well.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and it's a good point. You got to really look for it because you're not going to hear it at this point. I mean, you'll hear the refuse collection, but man, they are nice and quiet and super cool. So I'm excited to
Very
see them
cool.
too.
Excellent.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Take care.